I never thought I'd hate my own blood more than I hated the man who put a bullet in my husband's chest. But there I was, staring at two terrified kids on my doorstep like some twisted delivery from hell, courtesy of my sister Elena. The taxi peeled out before I could even process the rain-slicked nightmare, leaving me with her note crumpled in my fist. "You owe me, Jules." Figure it out. Owe her? After she framed me for her embezzlement scam 5 years back, forcing me to take the fall while she skipped town with my savings? That rainy night in suburban Philly, with the kids' sobs cutting through the downpour, I realized revenge wasn't just a thought anymore. It was the only family tie I had left. The weight of it hit me like the storm breaking overhead. I'd spent half a decade clawing back from rock bottom, rebuilding a life in this crumbling row house that smelled like regret and takeout Thai, only for Elena to waltz back in, not with an apology, but with pint-sized human grenades. Little Mia, 5 years old with Elena's sharp green eyes, clutched her brother's hand so tight her knuckles went white.
Tommy,
3 and all chubby cheeks and confusion, just kept whimpering "Mama" like a broken record. I scooped them up, their soaked clothes dripping on my yoga pants, and slammed the door against the neighbor's prying eyes. Mrs. Hargrove across the street was already peeking through her blinds, probably dialing child services in her head.
great.
Just what I needed, cops sniffing around again. Inside, the house was a mess of half-unpacked boxes from my latest freelance gig, ghostwriting self-help books for hacks who couldn't spell resilience. I set the kids on the threadbare couch, wrapped them in the Afghan grandma knitted before cancer turned her into a ghost, and paced the kitchen like a caged animal. My phone buzzed Elena's text. "They're yours now. Dad's gone. And I'm out. Don't fuck this up." Dad's gone? Our old man had been in that nursing home upstate, rotting from dementia. But gone as in dead? No call. No heads up. Just this bomb dropped from 1,000 miles away. Probably from whatever beach she was sipping my ties on with the money she'd stolen from me. I poured milk into sippy cups I didn't own, nuked some mac and cheese that was probably past its prime, and sat there watching them eat like feral kittens. Mia wouldn't meet my eyes, just poked at the orange sludge with her fork. "Aunt Jules," she finally whispered, voice so small it cracked something in my chest. "Why'd Mama leave us?" God. That question. It echoed the one I'd asked myself 1,000 times after the trial, when the judge banged his gavel and sent me to county for 18 months on fraud charges that were all Elena's fingerprints, not mine. I'd covered for her, signed the damn papers because she was family, because she swore it was temporary, because she was the golden child, and I was the screw-up who owed her for every handout since Mom died.
She's
busy.
Sweetie, I lied.
Forcing a smile that felt like razor wire. Busy. Yeah. Busy ruining lives. That night, as the kids finally crashed in my bed, smelling like wet dog and innocence I didn't deserve, I sat at the scarred oak table Dad had built in the garage back when we were kids in South Philly, nursing a glass of cheap bourbon. The rain hammered the roof like accusations. I pulled out the old shoebox from under the sink, the one with the letters, the forged docs, the Polaroids of Elena laughing with that sleazy accountant she'd run off with. Evidence I'd buried deep, thinking blood was thicker than justice. But not anymore. By dawn, with the kids still snoring, I was on my laptop, fingers flying. First, a call to the nursing home. Dad had passed 2 days ago. Alone, with a DNR Elena must have forged in her name as power of attorney. She'd looted his accounts too, the last scraps of his pension.
Then,
Emails to old contacts from my pre-prison days. The ones who'd whispered about Elena's trail. Miami. Then Austin. Now shacked up in some gated community in Scottsdale with a new hubby who thought she was a trust fund babe. I dug deeper, cross-referencing public records. Social media ghosts she thought she'd scrubbed. There it was, a trail of bad checks. A civil suit in Nevada for identity theft. Whispers of a Ponzi scheme targeting retirees. My sister wasn't just a thief. She was a goddamn predator. Flipping from victim to villain like it was her cardio. The kids woke screaming for cartoons, and reality slapped me back. I couldn't chase ghosts with toddlers in tow. So I did what any self-respecting vengeful aunt would. I called in reinforcements. My neighbor, Carla, the no-nonsense our nurse with tattoos up to her elbows and a heart bigger than her attitude, agreed to watch them for a few hours. Girl, you look like you need a hitman. Not a sitter, she said, ruffling Tommy's hair. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Hitman?
Nah.
I wanted Elena to feel the slow burn, the kind that eats from the inside out. That first week blurred into a haze of daycare drop-offs. I scraped together cash for a spot at the community center, and late nights plotting. Mia started opening up, drawing pictures of a mean lady who looked suspiciously like Elena, all sharp lines and frowny mouth. Tommy just clung to my leg like a barnacle. They were breaking me down, these little invaders, making me question if revenge was worth the risk of loving something that could be ripped away again. But then I'd find Elena's note in my purse, the one she'd tucked into Mia's backpack, and the fire reignited. You owe me. Bullshit. I owed her nothing but the truth she'd buried under lies. It started small. I leaked an anonymous tip to a Phoenix PI I'd found online. Cheap but thorough. About Elena's Nevada mess. Nothing big, just enough to spook her into checking her six. Her Facebook went dark for a day, then popped back with some filtered beach pic. Hubby in the background, looking oblivious. But I saw the strain in her eyes. The forced smile. Good. Let her sweat. Meanwhile, life in Philly ground on. I landed a gig writing ad copy for a local brewery, ironic. Since alcohol was my vice and my crutch, but it paid enough for diapers and Dino nuggets. The kids were settling, calling me jujubes, in that toddler slur that melted the ice around my heart. But every night, as I tucked them in, I'd stare at the ceiling cracks mapping out like veins, wondering how far I'd go. Elena had taken everything once, my freedom, my trust, my future. Now she was trying to dump her failures on me.
No.
This time, I'd make her pay in kind. 2 months in, the PI hit gold. Elena's new life was built on sand, fake credentials, a shell company siphoning from her hubby's real estate deals. She was playing the long con again, this time on a guy named Victor Hale, some ex-cop turned developer with a temper and a record for domestic beefs. The report came with photos, Elena at a gala, all sequins and shark smile, arm candy to a man who looked like he could snap her in half. But the real kicker? A birth certificate tucked in the file. Mia and Tommy weren't just hers. There was a question mark next to the father's name. And a faded hospital bracelet from a Philly clinic dated right after I'd gone down for her crime. My hands shook as I read it. Elena had gotten knocked up by that accountant prick, the one who'd vanished after the scam blew up. She'd hidden it, played the single mom card to milk sympathy from whoever she could. But why dump them now? Victor finding out? Or just bored of the props? It didn't matter. The secret she'd buried was cracking open, and I was the shovel. I debated telling the kids, but they were too young for that poison. Instead, I started the next phase. Contact. I created a burner email, concernedfamily@gmail.com, and sent her a single line. The kids are fine. But Dad's will says otherwise. Check your mail. Bluff. Pure and simple. Dad hadn't had a Wilworth spit, but it was catnip to a liar like her. She bit within hours. What the fuck do you want? Jules? Keep your mouth shut, and I'll send money. Money. As if that fixed the hole she'd punched through my life. I strung her along, demanding reparations in vague terms, watching her squirm via the PI surveillance. She wired $5,000, pocket change for her, war chest for me. I used it to hire a lawyer, one of those ambulance chasers who'd cut his teeth on custody battles. We filed for emergency guardianship, citing abandonment. The courts moved slow as molasses, but the papers hit her doorstep in Scottsdale like a gut punch. Elena's response was a barrage of voicemails, voice cracking from silk to screech. You bitch. You can't do this. They're mine.
Then.
The flip, tears and pleas. Jules. Please. Victor's crazy. He'll hurt them. Help me. Classic Elena. Always the victim. Always twisting the knife back on you. I listened to them on loop while rocking Tommy through a fever. Mia's head on my shoulder as she whispered nightmares about the taxi lady. It hardened me. If she wanted a war, I'd give her one she'd never forget. By winter, the custody hearing loomed like a storm cloud. Philly's streets were slushy gray, holiday lights mocking the ache in my gut. The kids had their first snowman in my backyard, lopsided and grinning with carrot nose. And for a second, I let myself dream of keeping them. Normalcy. A family that didn't shatter on contact. But Elena was coming. Judge be damned. Her lawyer's motion painted me as the felon aunt. Unstable. Unfit. Mine countered with the abandonment logs. The taxi receipt I'd tracked down from the cabbie who'd grumbled about crazy broads and crying brats. The day before court, she showed up unannounced. I opened the door to her standing there in a cashmere coat, snowflakes melting on her highlighted hair, looking every bit the prodigal sister. Jules, she said, voice honey over gravel. Let's talk. For the kids. Mia and Tommy froze behind me, eyes wide as saucers.
Elena knelt, arms out.
But they shrank back, burrowing into my legs. Her face crumpled, just a flicker, then rebuilt into that mask of wounded innocence. We sat in the kitchen, coffee steaming untouched. She spun her tale. Victor was abusive. The money a lifeline. The kids collateral in her escape. I didn't mean to leave them like that. It was panic. You get it, you've been there. Been there? Like prison was a spa weekend. I gripped my mug. Knuckles white. You framed me, Elena. Took my life and laughed while I rotted. This. I gestured to the kids coloring quietly in the living room. This is karma knocking. She leaned in, eyes gleaming. Karma? Or greed? Dad's estate. There's more than you think. I hid it. For us. Split it. And we call even.
Lie.
The PI had confirmed Dad's accounts were dry. But she dangled it like bait. And part of me, the broken part, wanted to bite. Imagine it clean slate. Kids secure. Her gone. But then Mia toddled in, clutching a drawing of 3 stick figures under a sun, labeled Jujubes plus us. No room for her in that frame. Get out, I said, voice steady as steel. See you in court. The hearing was a circus. Judge Harlan, a grizzled vet with a mustache like a broom bristle, eyed us both like we were exhibits in a zoo. Elena, polished and tearful, testified to her struggles, painting me as the vengeful black sheep. My lawyer ripped it apart, texts, wires, the taxi dashcam footage showing her shoving the kids in like luggage. But the twist came when Victor appeared, hulking in the back row, eyes locked on Elena like a hawk. She'd lied about him too. He wasn't the monster. She'd cleaned him out, faked the bruises for sympathy points in her latest con. The chaos erupted. Victor lunged, shouting about his kids. Mia and Tommy weren't Elena's alone. He'd been paying support under the table. The bailiff wrestled him down, but not before Elena's mask slipped, a snarl twisting her perfect face. You are nothing. A mark. Judge Harlan banged his gavel, adjourning for psych evals all around. Outside, in the courthouse chill, Elena cornered me. You did this. You leaked to him. I didn't deny it. The PI had forwarded Victor's contact, anonymous gift. Blood's thicker than theft.
Sis.
But thinner than lies. She laughed, bitter and broken. You'll regret this.
Jules.
Family eats its own. As she stormed off, Victor in tow, cuffs glinting, I gathered the kids, their small hands in mine, and walked into the snow. Victory? Or just the eye of the storm? The courts would decide custody. But the real battle was the scar she'd left, the one that made me wonder if I was saving them or just dragging them into my revenge. Winter thawed into a muddy spring, but the war didn't. Elena vanished after the hearing, dodging evals and warrants, her trail leading to a dive motel in Jersey where cops raided and found her with a bag of cash and fake IDs. Victor got pinched too. Turns out he'd known about the kids all along. But Elena had played him like a fiddle, promising reunions that never came. The headlines called it Family Fraud Fiasco, tabloid gold with my blurry mug from the old trial splashed beside Elena's glamour shots. Mrs. Hargrove left casseroles on my porch, whispering God's justice like it absolved the mess. The kids and I hunkered down. Guardianship papers came through provisional, me as primary, with Victor's visits supervised after he pled out to a lesser charge. Mia started therapy, drawing less mean ladies and more rainbows. Tommy said Mama Jules unprompted one morning over pancakes, and I ugly cried into the syrup. But peace was a fragile thing. Elena's last text came encrypted, a voice note that chilled me. You think you won? Check the box. The box. Dad's old keepsake from the attic, one I'd ignored amid the chaos. Heart pounding, I dragged it down, dust motes dancing in the sunbeams like accusations. Inside, letters, yellowed and tied with twine. Not just any letters, mine. From prison. Ones I'd written to Elena, begging for help, for truth. But these were replies, in her handwriting. I can't.
Jules.
Too risky. Blame yourself for trusting.
And at the bottom,
a confession scrawled on the back of a court summons. The bullet? I pulled the trigger. Metaphorically. Your husband found out about the scam. I made the call to that hitter. For us. My knees buckled. The night before my wedding anniversary, 5 years back, the cops had ruled it a robbery gone wrong. But now, Jesus. Elena hadn't just framed me, she'd orchestrated it all. The embezzlement, the hit to silence Mark, me taking the fall to cover her tracks. He died because he loved me enough to dig, to protect what we'd built. And I'd spent years hating shadows, thinking it random cruelty. Rage boiled up, black and viscous. I forwarded the letters to the DA. Anonymous drop. With a note, reopen case 47 to 892. Motive buried in family. Then, I waited. The kids' laughter from the backyard, splashing in puddles, chasing bubbles, grounded me. This wasn't just revenge anymore, it was justice. For Mark. For Dad. For the sister I'd buried under loyalty. Weeks later, the call came, Elena in custody, extradited from a bus station in Ohio. Ranting about sisterly betrayal. Victor flipped, testifying for immunity, spilling how she'd recruited him post-scam to muscle debtors. The trial was a media circus, Philly's own real-life soap opera. I testified, voice steady, laying out the web, betrayal upon betrayal. Her flips from ally to assassin. The kids as pawns in her endless grift. But the climax? When she took the stand. Elena, stripped of gloss, hair limp, eyes hollow, stared me down and said, Juliet? She knew. About the hit. The money. She covered for me because she was jealous. Always the shadow to my light. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The DA objected, but the seed was planted.
Doubt.
Had I, in my grief-fogged haze, had I suspected and stayed silent for family? The jury split hairs, deliberating days. Emerging with manslaughter for the hit, she'd hired the triggerman. Fraud on top of fraud. 25 to life.
No parole. Outside.
Reporters swarmed. Did you know? Family divided? I shielded the kids, Mia clutching my hand, Tommy on my hip, and said nothing. Victory tasted like ash. Elena's last look from the van was a smile, twisted and knowing. We're the same.
Jewels.
Monsters in lipstick. Summer bloomed hot and unforgiving. Custody finalized, mine. Full stop. Victor faded out. Content with photos and check-ins. The kids and I moved to a little house in Manayunk, river views and a yard for fireflies. I wrote my own book, not ghosted drivel, but memoir, Sisters in Shadow, raw edges and all. It sold modestly, enough for college funds. Therapy untangled the knots. Mia forgave the taxi lady in crayon apologies. Tommy called me mom without flinching. But the twist lingered, the one that kept me up nights. In her cell letters, pleading now, not plotting, she confessed more. The hit was meant for me. Mark had intercepted, thinking it a mugging setup. She'd flipped the script last minute. Cowardice or calculation? Did it change anything? Hell yes. And no. I visited once. Plexiglass between us. Her face gaunt but eyes still sharp. Forgive, she whispered. I leaned in. Never. But I'll live better. For them. Driving home. Kids singing off-key to pop radio. I glanced in the rear view. No shadows chasing. Just us. Flawed and forward. Was it happy? Tragic? You tell me. Blood binds. But revenge severs. And in the end, the real controversy? Who pulled the first trigger, her? Or the family that let her load the gun? The irony wasn't lost on me as I pulled into the Manayunk driveway that first evening. The moving truck's exhaust still hanging in the humid air like a bad omen. Here I was. Juliet goddamn Hale, no. Still Monroe. I'd kept Mark's name like a shield, playing house in a neighborhood straight out of a HGTV flip. All cobblestone streets and brew pubs pretending poverty was quaint. The kids tumbled out. Mia with her backpack stuffed with treasures from the old place, mostly bottle caps and a half-dead succulent. Tommy dragging his sippy cup like a security blanket. New home. Jujubes? Mia asked, squinting at the brick facade with its window boxes overflowing petunias. Yeah.
Kiddo.
Fresh start. Lies we tell ourselves. The real estate agent. A perky millennial named Tiff with a bob that screamed LinkedIn hustle had called it charming potential. I called it bankruptcy bait, but the advance from the book deal covered the down payment. And the river view? That was therapy in liquid form. Watching the Schuylkill churn brown under the sun like it was washing away sins. Unpacking was a farce. Boxes labeled kitchen, don't open, full of regret, yielded chipped mugs and a cast-iron skillet Mark had used for everything from eggs to threats against door-to-door salesmen. I hung his photo on the mantel, him grinning in that flannel. Fishing rod slung over shoulder. The one from our honeymoon in the Poconos. Who's that?
Mga.
Tommy asked, poking the frame with a sticky finger. That's Uncle Mark. He loved you guys. Even before you were born. A stretch. But close enough. Elena had hidden the pregnancy from everyone, including Mark. He died thinking we were childless.
Free.
The thought twisted like a knife. That night, as cicadas buzzed a symphony of unease, I fired up the laptop for the first virtual book club Q&A. Sisters in Shadow had hit some indie lists, mostly because of the trial tie-in, America's obsession with dysfunctional dynasties. Think Real Housewives meets Making a Murderer. The chat filled with avatars, bookish moms, true crime pods. One guy with a handled justice for Elena who typed in all caps about railroaded women. I pasted on my author's smile. The one Carla called my serial killer poker face. And Oven. Questions poured. Did you ever suspect? What's next for the kids? The controversial one hit from a verified journo. Your sister claims in appeals you perjured, knew about the hit and stayed silent. Response. My fingers hovered. Truth?
Ide suspectaxadús.
Yeah, Elena's late-night calls. Mark's unease about family business. But pulling a trigger? That was her abyss. Not mine. I typed. Suspect is easy. Prove is hard. Courts decided. Moving on. Sign-off brought wine and a deck lounge. Stars pricking the sky like accusations. The neighborhood was alive, dog walkers, joggers in Lululemon, the distant thump of a kegger from the college bars. Normal. But my phone vibrated. Unknown number. Voicemail. Elena's voice. Tinny and edged. Read the fine print.
Jules.
Chapter 12. You missed it. Chapter 12. The one on the trial. Her testimony. I'd skimmed it for libel checks.
But now.
Heart hammering. I scrolled. There. Footnote 47. A deposition snippet from Victor. Buried in legalese. Elena said Juliet greenlit the silence. Keep your mouth shut. Or you're next. After the husband died. Bullshit.
Or was it?
Memory fractured under grief. Had I, in some blackout rage, whispered threats to keep the family intact, sleep evaded, chased by what-ifs. Dawn brought routine, breakfast burritos, kids' new fave, extra cheese. School drop-off, Mia in first grade now. Braids I'd learned to French from YouTube, and my shift at the local library. Shelving romances while dodging whispers. That's her. The sister killer lady. Small-town fame. Philly style. The library gig was my anchor. Low stakes amid the chaos. MS.
Patel.
The branch manager with henna tattoos and a no BS vibe had hired me post-trial, saying redemption arc sell books. Honey, she was right. Storytime became my confessional, reading Where the Wild Things Are to tots who didn't know my baggage. Their giggles a bomb. But that afternoon, as I stamped returns, a woman approached mid-40s, sensible bob, coat too heavy for the heat. Juliet Monroe? I'm Lisa Grant. DA's Cold Case Unit. Cold Case. Mark's murder. Reopened ripples. She slid into the break room, coffee in hand, all business. Elena's appealing on new evidence. Claims you withheld info on the hitter. We need your statement, off record first. Off record my ass. I sipped the sludge. Mind racing. What evidence? A wire transfer. From your account to a burner phone. Night of the hit. $500. Coincidence. My blood iced. That night, Mark's last, we'd fought about Elena. Her loans draining us. I'd stormed out. Hid an ATM in a haze. Bought burner minutes to call a PI on her trail. Legit. But time-stamped wrong. It looked like payoff. It's not, I started, but Lisa held up a hand. Look, Juliet. I believe you. Elena's flipping everything. Victor's out on bail. Talking custody reversal. He's got money. Lawyers. This could drag the kids in. Victor's play. The ex-cop with grudges and greenbacks. Smelling blood. I nodded. Voice tight. I'll come in.
Clear it.
But clear it? The doubt gnawed. Had I been complicit? Even peripherally? The betrayal deepened. Not just Elena's, but my own blind spots. Home that evening. The kids' energy crashed against my walls. Mia's school project, a family tree. Branches bare except for us three and a ghost mark, hung crooked on the fridge. Tommy smeared paint on the walls, calling it art like Auntie. Aunt E. The name alone soured the milk. I cooked spaghetti, oversalted, and we ate on the porch, fireflies winking like spies. Bedtime stories blurred into strategy. I called my lawyer, the same shark from Custody Wars, now billing for defamation defense. Fight it, he growled over speaker. But prep for mudslinging. Victor's team is digging your prison stint, Mark's debts. They'll paint you unfit. Unfit. The word echoed Elena's courtroom snarl. I hung up, paced the creaky floors. The river murmured below, mocking my stasis. Revenge 2.0 exposed Victor's skeletons. A quick dark web dive, don't judge. Prison teaches resourcefulness. Turned up forums buzzing about his retirement fund. Kickbacks from development deals. Brown envelopes to councilmen. Anonymous tip to the feds? Tempting. But with kids in the crossfire, it felt like Russian roulette. Next morning, drop-off drama. Mia's teacher, Mrs. Kowalski, pulled me aside. Juliet. Mia drew this in art. A crayon scribble, dark figure looming over smaller ones. Red slashes for screams. Is everything okay at home? Everything's complicated. I pocketed the paper. Heart-leaden. Complicated. Understatement of the decade. The DA meeting was a fluorescent hell. Lisa and a Fed-suited suit named Ramirez. Files stacked like indictments. I walked them through the burner call, receipts emailed, PI's old logbook scanned. They nodded, but Ramirez's eyes said skeptical. Timing's tight. Chemist. Monroe. Elena's got a public defender singing your tune now. Protective sister turned patsy. Jury of housewives might buy it. Victor's pulling strings, I snapped. He's the real flipper, cop to crook overnight. Lisa leaned in. We know. But proof?
Slippery.
Help us. And the appeal crumbles. Help how? Undercover chats with Elena?
Nah. But Victor, yeah.
He wanted family time, supervised park meets. I agreed. Wired for sound. Kids as unwitting props. First meet, Fairmount Park. Autumn leaves crunching underfoot like brittle bones. Victor arrived in a gleaming Escalade. Khakis crisp. Smile salesman-wide. Jewels. Looking good.
Kids.
Mia hung back. Tommy, oblivious. Tossing bread to ducks. We walked the path. Recorder humming in my pocket. Victor's a name that sticks, I said casual. Like from the Force? He chuckled. Deep and disingenuous. Old life. Now it's houses, not holdups. Probe deeper. Elena's tales of his side gigs. His jaw tightened. That bitch lied. I cleaned up her messes, your messes too. Indirectly. Mark owed me. From the scam days. Thought he could ghost.
Owed?
Mark had fronted Elena cash. Sure. But Victor? The recorder caught it all. Admission of collections, threats veiled as friendly reminders. Jackpot. But then Mia tripped, skinning her knee, and Victor knelt, gentle, cooing. Hey.
Shaw.
Uncle Vic's got band-aids. Tommy giggled at his watch's laser pointer. For a heartbeat, I saw it, the almost dad. Reformed. Was he playing? Or possible? The line blurred. Controversy incarnate. Monster or misguided. I cut the meat short. Kids in tow. Heart pounding. Upload to Lisa. Use it. But doubt whispered. Was I damning a man for crumbs? Or saving my patchwork family? Weeks spun into Thanksgiving. Turkey charred but edible. Carla crashing with pie and wine. To bad blood and better bonds, she toasted. Kids clinking juice boxes. Laughter echoed. Real for once. But Black Friday brought the bomb. Victor's countersuit. Claiming Elena's lies exonerated him. Demanding unsupervised custody. Paternal rights, his lawyer crowed in filings. The kids? Bargaining chips again. Rage reignited. I countered with a recording, leaked to a podcast buddy for public interest. Airwaves buzzed. Ex-cop's revenge porn on Philly sister saga. Victor lawyered up harder. But cracks showed, feds circling his deals. Elena's appeal stalled. Winter whispered in. Holidays looming. Mia's school play, her as a pilgrim. Earnest lisp on lines, melted me. Backstage. Hugging her costume flower. I vowed, no more flips. But Elena's latest letter arrived. Postmarked county jail. Victor's coming for you. Like I came for Mark. Save us. Jewels. Blood. Save us? The plea twisted, pulling at the frayed thread of sisterhood. Was she bait? Or broken? The decision loomed, controversial as sin. Ally with the devil I knew. Or burn it all. Christmas lights strung the Manayunk streets like electric nooses, twinkling against the Schuylkill's inky flow. And I stared at Elena's letter till the words blurred into accusations. Save us. Us who? Her and Victor? The toxic tango that birthed my nightmares? Or the ghost of sisters we'd been? Back when Mom's lasagna was our love language and Dad's garage smelled of sawdust and safety. The kids were asleep upstairs. Stockings hung crooked by the chimney, Mark's old Red Sox cap repurposed as Santa's sack, and the house creaked with the weight of what-ifs. I crumpled the paper, tossed it in the fire, watched orange tongues lick it clean. But embers don't erase, they scar. New Year's dawned hungover. Carla dragging me to a riverfront bash where craft beers flowed and regrets drowned.
Bitch.
You need to dance, she yelled over the band, shoving a IPA my way. I did, awkward two-step with strangers, laughing till my sides ached. For 3 hours, I was just Jules, writer,
Mom.
survivor. No betrayals.
No appeals.
But midnight struck, fireworks booming like gunshots. And my phone lit up. Victor. Park tomorrow.
10 Uhr morgens.
Bring the kids. Or I go nuclear. Nuclear. His lawyer's lingo for dragging Mark's death back into the spotlight, painting me as the enabler. I texted back. Fine. Supervised. But sleep was a joke. Chased by dreams of Elena's snarl. Mark's blood on our kitchen tile. Wait. No blood. The hit was clean. 2 in the chest.
Parked car.
Still. The phantom stain. Park meat was frost-kissed hell. Victor waited on a bench. Breath fogging. A thermos of what smelled like Irish coffee extended. Peace offering. Jules. Mia eyed him wary. Tommy babbled about big man's hot choco. We walked the frozen paths. Ducks huddled like refugees. He talked neutral, weather. Eagles' playoff chances, then pivoted. Elena's cracking. Telling the warden you set her up. The transfer? She says you paid the hitter. Lies. I hissed. Recorder live. You know it. He shrugged. Eyes cold as the Schuylkill ice. Doesn't matter. She's my leverage now. Drop the Fed tip. And I back off custody. We co-parent. Civilize. Co-parent. The word curdled. This man, who'd collected from Mark, intimidation wrapped in blue-line brotherhood. But his gaze on Tommy, soft at the edges.
So doubt.
Was he the flipper Elena painted? Or a father fumbling redemption? What's her angle?
Beak.
Really? He stopped. Leaves crunching final. Angle? I loved her once. Thought the kids were mine. When she bolted, I chased. Now, I just want in.
Pause.
Then low. Mark, he paid because he owed Elena. Not me. But I delivered the message.
Harsh.
Regret it. Delivered. The admission hung.
Damning.
My pulse thundered. You threatened him? Scared him straight. Didn't pull no trigger. But his flinch said otherwise. Guilt.
Or gaslight.
I yanked the kids away. Mia whispering scary man all the way home. Upload to Lisa. He's cracking. But the seed Elena planted grew thorns. What if Victor was the patsy? Elena the architect supreme? The controversy churned. Pick the flawed dad over the fractured aunt? January bit hard. Bills. Blizzards. Book tour invites. I dodged like flu. Sisters in Shadow climbed charts. Netflix sniffing for rights. But fame felt like chains. A Philly mag profile quoted sources close to the family. Juliet's hiding more than she writes. Hiding? The burner glitch. Yeah. But more? Memories surfaced in therapy, Dr.
Row.
With her calm queries and chai breath. Probing. Did Elena ever confess pretrial? Flashes. A prison visit. Elena hissing through glass. Mark had to go. He was gonna rat. I'd laughed it off, jailhouse hysteria. Or buried it. Loyalty's last gasp. Complicit, Dr. Rao called it. Not guilty. Human. Human. Flawed decisions in the fog of loss. But the courts didn't care for nuance. Victor's suit gained traction. Psych eval ordered for me. Stability assessment, the social worker droned, eyeing my fridge magnets like evidence. The eval was a joke. Puzzles. Rorschach blots that looked like knives. Questions about handling stress. I aced it. Or so the report said. But Victor's team spun it. Surface compliance. Underlying volatility. Custody hearing reset for March. Tension ratcheting like a spring. February's full moon brought the break. Anonymous package on the porch. Manila envelope. No return. Inside, photos me and Elena. Teens in South Philly alleys. Her arm around me. Grins feral. Backed by affidavits from witnesses, I'd roughed up a dealer once. Protecting her from a bad buy. Juvenile record. Sealed but unsealed now by Victor's diggers. Thug aunt, the tabloids trilled. Rage vented in a call to Elena's public defender. A weary guy named Kowalski, irony noted. She's flipping again, he sighed. Says you'll recant everything for a cut of Victor's empire. Delusional, but it muddies. Muddies, I barked. She's the mud. Join the club. But appeals gaining, judge sees reasonable doubt. Reasonable. The word mocked as I prepped dinner. Kids fighting over crayons. Mia's latest drawing. All of us, me. Her.
Tommy.
Even Elena and Victor, under a dark cloud. Hands linked but pulling apart. Family's tricky, she said. Matter of fact.
Tricky.
Kid wisdom cutting deeper than therapy. I escalated. Met Lisa off books. At a dive bar near the precincts. Neon buzzing, last call like prophecy. Victor's wire fraud, nail him. The rest crumbles. She swirled her gin. Need inside. You game. Game? Espionage with a book deadline and bedtime battles? But for the kids, yes. Wired meet too, coffee shop. Neutral ground. Victor slid in. Cologne cloying. Jewels. Truce. Terms. Recorder whirring. He laid it out, dropped suits. Joint custody. Split Elena fund. Her jail commissary scam. Fleecing sympathizers. We're family now.
Family.
The lore. I probed. Your deal's clean? He leaned. Voice velvet over venom. Clean as confession. But cross me? Like Mark did? Lights out. There, the slip. Thread on tape. Echoing the hit. I bolted. Heart slamming. Straight to Lisa. Feds moved. Raid on Victor's office. Ledgers seized. He lawyered silent, but the dominoes toppled, kickbacks exposed. Elena's appeals tainted by association. Spring equinox. Cherry blossoms shedding pink confetti. Brought the hearing. Courtroom packed. Press. Carla in the back row mouthing kick-ass. Judge Harlan again. Mustache grayer. Eyes weary. Victor's team trotted out the juvie dirt.
Painting me vigilante.
Mine countered with tapes. Psych reports. Mia's testimony, brave 8-year-old lisp. I want Mama Jules. She's home. Victor testified last. Crumbling under cross. I.
Protected Elena.
From herself. Flips galore, cop code to criminal compact. Harlan ruled. Full custody mine. Victor supervised indefinitely. Elena's appeal denied. Outside. Spring sun mocking the sweat on my brow.
Victor cornered me.
You played dirty.
Jules.
but smart. Truce for the boy.
Tommy.
The soft spot. I nodded. Wary.
Truce.
But cross it. Understood. His grip firm. Eyes conflicted. Hate or respect. The blur that bred debate. Elena raged from lockup. Letters venomous. You stole my life. Again, but buried in one. A postscript. The secret? Mark's debt was to me. For the abortion I had, your kid. Jules. He paid to keep it quiet. Twist like a gut punch. My kid? Miscarriage pre-trial. Grief-eyed chalked to stress. Elena's lie. Or truth. DNA tests pending. But the controversy ignited forums. Aunt or biomom? Redemption or ruin? Summer solstice. Kids splashing in kiddie pool. I sat with DR. Rouse words. Choose your narrative. Mine? Survivor. Not saint. Victor visited weekly. Awkward barbecues thawing to tolerable.
Elena faded.
Appeals exhausted. But her shadow lingered. Debate fodder for book clubs and bars. Was it over? Or just intermission? The river flowed on,
Carrying secrets downstream.
You decide. Hero. Villain. Or the gray in between. July 4th fireworks cracked the Manayunk sky like divine artillery. Red, white, blue blooms reflecting in the schuylkill as the kids owed from my lap. Sticky with popsicle juice. Tommy waved a sparkler. Tiny night with sword of light. While Mia diagrammed explosions on her sketchpad, angles precise. Inherited from Mark's engineering doodles. Victor lounged across the picnic blanket, beer in hand, looking less wolf and more weary uncle. Good show, he grunted, clinking bottles. Truce held. Fragile as rice paper. Weekly visits. No custody grabs. Fed circling but not biting. Yet.
Pushbom.
As embers faded to stars, he pulled me aside by the grill. Coals still glowing. Elena's pushing a new angle. Paternity on Tommy, says he's mine. Not the accountant's. His eyes search mine. Hope or hunger.
Test it. Test.
The word hung. Controversial fork, confirm. And shatter Tommy's world, deny. And risk Victor's wrath. Wait till he's older, I said, deflecting. Kids first. He nodded, but tension simmered. Back home, tucking them in glow sticks as nightlights, I rifled the DNA kit from the clinic. Results sealed. Elena's bomb from the letter. Mark's debt tied to my miscarriage. Had she fabricated? Or was there a lost sibling in that grief? Opening it felt like Russian roulette with truth. Results. Negative on Victor for Tommy. Accountant's ghost confirmed via old records. But the miscarriage? Maternal markers matched Elena's profile. Wait. No. A sibling link? Lab note. Inconclusive without paternal sample. Mark's DNA. Buried with him. Closure. Or cliffhanger. August sweltered. Book tour forcing me south. DC signings. Atlanta panels. Crowds probing the gray areas. One Q&A. A law prof cornered me. Your story's no revenge porn. It's systemic. Family courts favor blood over bonds. Victor's push? Patriarchal payback. Valid. I'd flipped from victim to victor. But at what cost? Mia's therapy notes leaked. Hacker scum fears losing Aunt Jules like mama. Guilt nod. Home front frayed. Victor missed a visit. Then showed hammered. Slurring about Fed's freezing assets. Elena's poison.
Jules.
Dragged me down. Sympathy flickered. Shared victim? But his grip on my arm. Too tight. Snapped it. Back off. Or I press charges. He released. eyes flashing.
You need me.
For the truth.
Truth.
The Holy Grail. I called Lisa. Victor's cracking. Use it. September's back-to-school rush masked the storm. Mia's teacher conference. She's thriving. Advanced reader. Pride swelled. But Tommy's preschool flagged attachment issues, clinging post-Victor visits.
Dr.
Rao prescribed play therapy. Puppets for processing scary uncles.
Then.
The call. Elena's warden. Voice clipped. Inmate requests visit. In person.
Why now?
Appeal dead. Sentence ironclad. Curiosity, or trap, pulled me north to SCI Muncie. 2-hour drive through Pennsylvania's Rust Belt ghosts. Visiting room. Sterile buzz. Moms and daughters separated by glass. Elena shuffled in. Orange jumpsuit swallowing her frame. Hair, a choppy mess. Jules. Her smile cracked. Genuine fracture. You came. Talk. No pleasantries. She leaned to the receiver. Eyes hollow. Victor's lying. The hit? He pulled it. I hired. Yeah. But panicked, told him to scare. Not kill. He flipped. Took the shot for insurance. Mark owed him big from my scams. But Victor's cut was dirty cop shakedowns. Flip again. Her narrative shifted like sand. Proof. Hidden in his safe audio. I stashed a copy pre-arrest. Sent your P.O. box last week. P.O. box? The anonymous envelope. Photos plus a thumb drive I'd dismissed as junk mail. Home. Drive plugged in, grainy recording. Victor's voice post-hit. It's done.
Clean.
Elena's clear. Accomplice confession. Jackpot or forgery. Feds verified. Authentic. Victor arrested midnight raid. Charges stacking. Murder 1. Conspiracy. He lawyered. Blaming Elena. She set the play. I executed. Mutual destruction. Courtroom cage match. October trial. Media frenzy. Philly blood feud finale. I testified neutral. Facts. Not fury. Elena took the stand. Broken but bold. I betrayed Jules first. But Victor? He betrayed us all. Jury deliberated storm-swept days. Emerging split. Elena's sentence commuted to 15. Eligible parole in 7. Victor. Life no parole.
Outside.
Rain lashing. Elena, chained for transport, met my eyes. Twist enough. Enough. No forgiveness. But understanding's bitter cousin. Victor's glare from the van. You won. Which? Victory? Pyrrhic. With kids' future scarred. November thawed the ice. Holidays healed. Thanksgiving with Carla's clan. Mia's pie lattice perfect. DNA deep dive yielded nothing conclusive on the miscarriage, ghost sibling or Elena's gaslight. I let it bury. Focusing forward. December 2nd, anniversary of the taxi drop, kids baked cookies. Shapes lopsided but loved. Mia asked, will Auntie come home? Someday. Maybe. But we're home now.
Truth.
Unvarnished. The book's sequel brewed. Shadows lifted. Gray no more. Victor rotted. Elena reflected or plotted. But my narrative? Chosen. Controversial end. No heroes. Just humans clawing light from dark. Debate rages. Justice or just desserts. You pick the side.
Me?
I pick the kids. The rivers flow. The life unbetrayed. As snow dusted the windows. Tommy's head on my shoulder. Mia's sketch of us under stars. I whispered to Mark's photo, we made it. Hook sunk. Line cast forward. Always.